Imagine stepping into a world where every day feels like an adventure, but you're navigating without a map. That's exactly how I felt when I started homeschooling my children. Now, if you're a new homeschooling mom, you might feel the same way. And if you're a veteran mom, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And maybe you even share some of the mistakes that I went through. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the things that I wish someone had told me before we started homeschooling. And hopefully this will help you avoid some of the mistakes that I've made. Now, one of these, it took me almost like 2 years to figure out exactly what works for our families. So hopefully this helps you. So number one, I would say go at their rhythm. That is one thing that I think is so fun with homeschooling because you have that added flexibility that you don't really need to, focus on this specific topic on this day and then this topic on another day. It's really based on you and your child and what exactly works for your family. So you might have some children that move through a topic really, really quickly, but then you might have a child or that same child that is struggling with something and needs to take a little bit more time when they're working through the problem. And this is why it's super important to go at your child's pace, because that way you're going to find it more enjoyable, they're going to find it more enjoyable, but they're still going to learn in the process, and then they're going to enjoy the fact that they're learning. It's not going to be like, oh my gosh, you need to hurry up and do this. So it's going to reduce the stress for everybody involved, and then it's going to help them learn a lot faster and also retain, because that's the other thing. We don't want them to just learn to pass a test. We want them to retain the information that they're learning. Number two, don't set strict deadlines. This was one that it's not the one that took me a long time to realize, but it's one that I had to get used to because I went to traditional school where, you start at this time, you end at this time. You sit down, you raise your hand, and you're doing this topic and this topic from this time to this time. Whereas with homeschooling, you have that flexibility, as I just mentioned. So by setting a strict deadline, you're kind of like shooting yourself in the foot at the same time, because you never know. Maybe one day you wake up and you're not feeling it, or your child had a rough night and they're not feeling it. So if you decide that, today from 10 until 10:30, we're doing math, and then at 10:30, they're not even finished. Well, what are we going to do? No, this is why we need to be more flexible, and we need to make sure that we're not just setting the strict deadline for our children and imposing this added stress on them. It's totally fine if, let's say, you decided to do math and English on Monday, but all you did was math. That's okay. That's what your child needed. And this is one thing that I think is so important, because if you're someone like me that you like to check things off, so you're like, okay, we did this, we did this, we did this. I remember there were some times I was like, oh my gosh, we didn't get to social studies and it's 4 o'clock now. We're not continuing the day. At this point, my child was done, I was done, and we just moved it on to the next day. So be it. Number three, it takes a lot less time than traditional school. So one thing that you might think about is, in school, they're there from, let's say, 8 o'clock until 3. That's a lot of time. So then when you bring them home and you start homeschooling, you might think, we should be doing homeschool for this amount of time. Definitely not. Think about the different time wasters that happen at school. There is recess. There's setting everybody up, setting up whatever the activity is. There's, little Jimmy, you're not paying attention. Let's regroup. All of that is happening throughout the day. There's moving from one classroom to another. When you're home and you're just dealing with your child, you could spend a lot more focused time on what they need to do. And then after that, they can go out there and just have fun, play in their house, play outside, play with their other homeschool friends, do whatever it is that they want to do. That's not actual homeschooling. And this is why it's so important to be able to see, my child's in kindergarten. How much time do I actually need to teach them? That could be about 20 minutes to half an hour, and that's it. You're done. If your child is in grade 6, that could be about 2 hours, 3 hours, and you're done. It really depends on you, your child, your family, what you want to accomplish throughout the day, and then also whatever else you have planned. Because I know for us, there are a lot of days that we have to leave early to go to our other extracurricular activities that we have with the children. So then on those days, homeschooling is a lot shorter. But then on the day where we have nothing, it might be a little bit longer. It's still not a full traditional school day, and that's okay. Number 4, learn with them. I think this is like the best part when it comes to homeschooling because it's okay not to have all of the answers. It's actually really good to not have all of the answers because then like you go down this whole rabbit hole. It's amazing. But let's say you're teaching something to your child. You might not know that topic. It's totally fine to say, I don't know. Let's look it up together. One thing that I love to do with my children whenever they ask me a question, first I ask them, like, what do you think? And I try to see if they really don't know. I just tell them, let's look it up together. What does Google say? Right? Good old Google. But then after that, you're teaching them how to research because you don't just look at the one answer. You have to look at another answer to see if that can corroborate the answer that you found at first. If you have a younger child, then you help them in this process and you try to find the answer with them and then you bring it to their level where they can actually understand. But they're going to see, wow, mom is learning at the same time. This is really cool. And they're also going to see that it's not a race. It's not, you find one answer and that's it. Learning is a lifelong process. You always learn. And this is a skill that we want our children to know is okay. It's okay to not have all the answers. One example of this is when we were doing an experiment called the salty potato experiment. Now, this is an experiment that I have in my audio series called Wellness Foundations. And this is where I go over the 5 pillars of wellness that we cover at Mommy and Me Wellness. And I give you a brief introduction to what it is and also how you can apply it with your homeschool day. So when it came to nutrition, we were talking about the effects of salt. And we did the salty potato experiment. Now, I've never done this experiment before. I just went based on, different things that I saw online. And when we try it, it was a complete fail, like complete fail. And they were like, oh, mommy, this isn't working. And I'm like, I guess not. Our scientific experiment did not work. Let's try it again. And after trying and looking up different ways on how we could make the experiment work, that's when we actually got it to work better. If you wanted to see that experiment or any of the other ideas that I shared in Wellness Foundations, you can find the link in the description below, or you can click on this QR code. It's really 2-3 minute audio files that go over the 5 pillars of wellness and how you can help your children incorporate them into their homeschooling day. Number 5, make it fun. Homeschooling is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be like a time where your child is like, okay, I'm actually enjoying the learning process. And this is why sometimes you got to ditch the workbooks. Like this is one that it took me a very long time to do. And I'm still not fully there. I still rely pretty heavily on workbooks. And that's just a whole different story of what's going on here in my area and the different things that we have to cover. But it should be fun. And which is why sometimes I bring in some hands-on activities that they do. Or we decide to, switch it up and start later, start earlier. Don't do it a day. Or bring in more educational games that's going to cover the exact same topic that let's say they would be doing in a workbook, but now they're doing it on their tablets because they love using their tablets. So just figuring out ways to make it more fun for our children is something that's going to help them. And it's something that I'm still working on. Like I'm still figuring out how exactly we can, cover the same topic without relying on the workbooks. One thing I can say about this, baking is something that helps tremendously when it comes to ELA, so English Language Arts, and also with math, because you can work on fractions. You can say, well, instead of having a cup of something, I only have this half of cup. How many will I use? So you can figure out how you can make it interesting for your child. And at the end of it, you're either eating like muffins or cookies. Who wouldn't be happy with that? But healthy ones. And sneak some veggies in there. Number 6, I had to use 2 hands for that one. Make sure that you're taking breaks. I know for us, if we decide to start homeschooling and just go throughout the whole day without taking a break, my daughter, it's not going to work. By the end of it, she's going to be doing all of this. She's not going to be focused, or she's going to be making a lot of mistakes. Whereas my son, he can do it a little bit more, but then there's still mistakes in his work. So it's really important to take a break for yourself and for your children, because that's when, they can get a snack and replenish. They can go get some fresh air outside. They can go do a movement brain break. I did a video about that. I will link it here somewhere and you can go check it out. You'll see that after giving them that break, that their mood is going to be improved, they're going to be refocused, and their productivity is going to go up so much higher than if they didn't take that break. So take a break. Number 7, every homeschool family is different, so do not compare yourself. This is why I said when I did this video, this is what we have done. This is what works for our family. But truth be told, at the beginning, I was looking at other families, let's say on Instagram or on YouTube, and I was like, wow, they have like this perfect homeschool room. Or, their children look like they're perfectly focused when they're doing their work. Or mom just looks like she has it all together. They have the trolleys, they have everything. Everything is color coordinated. They have like the posters on their walls. And I'm like, we don't have that. We have like a whiteboard. And then we got a cart. But that's what worked for us. We don't even have a whiteboard anymore. Since we moved, we didn't put back up the whiteboard. But you have to figure out what works for you. Not every homeschool style is going to work for you. There's so many of them. I don't even know what they all are. There's like Charlotte Manson, and I don't know. Is it Manson or Mason? I don't even know. But there's so many different ways that you can homeschool, but it has to be a way that is right for your family. There's no wrong way to homeschool. There's only right, and it's whatever works for you. So please, when you're starting, do not compare yourself to anybody else, because you also don't know, have they been homeschooling for like 10 years and now this is like the last child that's homeschooling? Or did they just start last year? Or are they looking at another family and thinking that this is the way that it should be done, but they're miserable? You don't want that. So figure out whatever is going to work for you. Yes, get some inspiration out there. But if you realize it doesn't work, switch it up. Make it work for you. Make it a place and an experience and a journey where everybody that's involved is happy with it. Number 8, mama, you need to remember to take care of yourself. So homeschooling could be really hard because you're not just mom. You're mom, but you're also the one that's teaching them. And I know for me, I was like, I expect so much from them. I know what they can do. I know what they're capable of. So it's a little bit harder. But you have to take care of you, because I know there were days where I was tired. And if I was tired, my patience was not there. And then who is that going to benefit? Absolutely nobody. So by making sure that you're also taking care of yourself, whether it's like, locking yourself in the bathroom for like 5 minutes and just having some quiet time, or you have a warm, because if we have a hot cup of tea, that's asking too much. But have like a nice cup of tea, or go do a workout, or do like 10 minutes of a hobby that you have and that you love. But you need to figure out how is it that you can refill your cup, because if not, you're going to be given whatever's left of you to your children. And speaking from experience, that doesn't benefit anybody. Homeschooling is such a wonderful experience that not a lot of families get to enjoy. And I am so happy that we decided to make this decision. Honestly, at the beginning, I was like, me, homeschool? What are you talking about? Have you met me? But now that we're doing it, I'm like, I can't see us doing anything differently. But I will say there are some times where my children just don't focus. Like, there's no focus when we're homeschooling. And this is why, if you're going through the same situation, I highly suggest that you check out this video here, because I help you figure out different ways that you can help your children refocus whenever they're doing homeschooling and it's just not happening. So click on this video and I will see you there. Take care.